Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. Here on December the 20th of 2018, it's Nick and Chris here to talk about some manga. And, yeah,
And I'm Nick.
yes, and I'm not Nick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the other one.
The other guy. Other
Yes.
dude.
Well, I was like, you're Chris, and I'm Rolo T. That's how it goes.
Well, based off how the Shonen Jump podcast understands us, yes.
Yes.
I was just going to try to impersonate you and see how long it took. I guess if you're watching the video, you can clearly see that my face is underneath the thing that says Chris, but you never know.
What they don't know is that we're actually master ventriloquists, and we can speak without moving our mouths, so you can't actually use the visual audio sync to tell anything.
Nick, have you ever read like mystery novels of any kind, especially when like you were younger and they put like mystery novels for kids out? Do you ever read the Clue ones?
Yes, I read about 3 of them, I think.
Do you ever read the one where Mrs. Peacock was bullshit and she was like, it wasn't even a mystery. It was like a bunch of people attacked her in a room and she beat them up and she was like, oh, like the twist was she's like, I have ventriloquist, like I'm a ventriloquist, I can throw my voice.
Yes,
like,
I do remember that. She was like a master martial artist somehow, and then you were supposed to guess what I think which of them like not managed to finally knock her out, and it was like based off of like which of them had how much food on them or something.
It was some nonsense. I remember at the time I was like, this is a shitty mystery. I was like, why is Mrs. Peacock suddenly like fucking Shang-Chi?
Oh no, I think it was like she had just inherited some diamonds or something like that, and they all attacked her while wearing masks. And then at the end of the fight, she she just took one of the masks off, and then based purely off of that, she was able to tell which of them had which weapon. And you were supposed to follow along because there were clues that were given to you throughout the fight scene that indicate, okay, the person with this weapon is a male, the person with this weapon acted this way, etc. And so it was more like one of those logic grid puzzles than it was a regular like who committed the crime that miraculously didn't actually kill anyone. Because we have to keep on doing these clue mysteries, and for some reason, Mr. Body keeps on inviting these murderous psychopaths to his house.
Can I just remark and appreciate how on brand the moment is that in a week where Shonen Jump has delivered an unheard of new delivery system for distributing manga, and there are tons of changes to the podcast, the first thing we start off with is by like a play-by-play of a shitty Clue mystery novel for kids that we both read as children. I love that to death.
It's important.
I'm like, anyway, guys, now you can read like 7,000 chapters for free online, something like that. Now, wasn't there something with Mr. the Colonel Mustard and like a tiger?
I don't remember that one. So
perfect stuff.
Shonen Jump is dead. Long live Shonen Jump, basically. We talked about how the service was changing last week, and that was put into effect this Monday. Instead of having a digital manga to read with the new chapters of the week compiled just into a single like Flash document that we flip back and forth in, instead you go through your series chapter by chapter, similar to how Crunchyroll had it, or as if you had like bought the chapters physically. Or not physically, but individually in the digital volumes. And in addition to just having the newest chapters available for free, if you had a Shonen Jump subscription, which you can renew for like $2 a month, so roughly what you were going to pay anyway to keep your Shonen Jump subscription, you get access not just to the new stuff, but also to a large back catalog of chapters. It's not everything that has ever appeared in Shonen Jump. I guess that would have been asking a little bit too much. And hey, maybe there will be some more added to it. Who knows? But in addition to all the series that are currently ongoing, almost all of them, there are some gag series that didn't get picked up. But I mean, there's like Kimetsu no Yaiba is on there. Act Age is on there now. Freaking Jujutsu Kaisen. So the My Hero Academia Vigilantes is on there. all these series are now available, as well as classic series. You got your Death Note, you got your Dragon Ball, basically every single Yu-Gi-Oh manga series ever made.
All of cross-managed, if you want to read it. It's all available there.
Naruto, Bleach, Hikaru no Go, Death Note. So there's a shit ton of stuff available if you have what would have been a Shonen Jump subscription. And do definitely highly recommend it, because we're probably going to be using this in order to catch up on some shit and talk about it. This is definitely going to be an opportunity for us to add some new series into the recap. Probably go on like some sort of a rotating schedule instead of covering everything every single week. But yeah, very excited by the potential that we have to work with here. And also, if you did not have a Shonen Jump subscription before, but you live in the United States, Canada, UK, all the places that the Shonen Jump service is available, and you still don't want to get a subscription, that's cool. You can follow along with all the series that we recap as we do it, because the most recent 3 chapters are available for free. So,
yep. It should be noted that there are going to be some series that if we try to pick up, there might be kind of a jump forward, sort of like what happened when we did a recommendation for My Hero Academia and then started actually discussing My Hero Academia, where there was kind of a block of chapters that were still in the process of being kind of like translated. So we may see that from some stuff, but yeah, there's a lot of new options, and it looks like jump starts in general are going to continue.
Yeah, because we got one this week, so it just kind of escaped notice because it's just amidst all the other chapters. There was definitely a banner image saying it's like, hell, Warden Higuma is out this week. It's like, okay, let me look at all the other manga that I have to read now.
It's the only like huge problem I have is this is just my inability to process simple instructions. Is like I'm going through and I'm like, okay, we never learned Promised. Like I go through and I'm like, I hope I don't miss a chapter. Like I really hope I don't get to the end of the week and I'm like, what happened to Dr. Stone? I never read Dr. Stone because it was like the next row or some shit like that.
Right, you don't have that checklist anymore to keep you up to date and read everything.
I didn't have a computer program that held my hand and is like, just keep going forward. You're not done yet.
Turn the page. Turn the page.
Keep going. One more. I'm like, I'm scared.
Don't let go of the bike.
Well, keep holding on. Don't let go.
You're already pedaling. See? Oh no!
But
you fall out of your chair reading manga.
Oh, my leg. I want to give a special, like, sort of, like, congratulations and thanks for all the hard effort that everyone at Shonen Jump is doing.
Yeah.
Jeff, we've had him on the show quite a few times. Great guy. The entire week, I've been seeing him on Twitter kind of responding to people, talking about, I know there were some technical issues that kind of happen whenever anything does a big kind of transition. So, I have a tremendous amount of respect for them. As far as I'm concerned, the transition went very smoothly. But I definitely appreciate the fact that there was a lot of effort put into making it as seamless and having a lot of communication with people. As somebody who's been playing Fallout 76, I know how easy it is to not get that.
Yes. Oh, we don't have any One Piece to read. That's why it wasn't showing up in everything. See, this is going to take a little bit of getting used to. Just like because we have to independently make sure that all of the chapters get opened as opposed to just going through the magazine. Yeah, I forgot. I was like, oh, right, there was no One Piece this week, so I don't have to open that up. That's why it wasn't in all of the stuff that was updated this week. Anyway, so we are, I think, just going to get into it. Talk about manga that came out this week. We do have now 3 jump starts, and this is going to affect the way somehow that we do them. I think it might be a good idea if we just do like what we would have normally done with the new series, just cover the first 3 chapters and then decide if we want to keep on reading it, basically. But it's nice that we're just going to have that option now, as opposed to, I hope this gets picked up. So
we should, like, a game show. It should be like I don't watch it, but it should be like, I guess, like X Factor, where like we read the first 3. At the end of it, we give like a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And if it's unanimous, then we just go with that. But if we're split, then we send it to the audience and we let them decide the fate of something. Or replica is good. We just flip a coin. And we decide if one of us is going to be shitty and miserable about it based off a flip a coin.
That would be a really great way of deciding those kind of game shows. Is like, well, the judges are tied, so one of them just takes that up, going, okay, your entire fate, your hopes and dreams of having a career in entertainment hinge on this.
If I do not make this contest, they send me back to country where they take my thumbs. Sorry, Lynn. Tails never fails, but this time it did.
And like the person who wanted to do it just like immediately gives up on it. It's just like, well, you saw it. You flipped the coin.
Yeah. They're like, hey, we're in the fairest system in the world. 3 votes. Somehow there's a tie. And you go home based off what the coin flip says.
All right. Let's talk about manga, Chris. We're going to kick things off in the recap portion, weekly manga recap, with My Hero Academia, number 210, The One for All Dream. So,
I just
last chapter.
Nick,
what's that?
Terrible about this new transition.
What's that?
We don't have the cover page anymore. How are we going to know if Yuno is still an important character in Black Clover anymore? They don't have the page with all the characters on it.
I do have to wonder, like, I wonder if, like, because I'm going to take a look at this real quick.
Actually, this is something interesting. Did they do this before? Where on the page they note who translated and lettered it as well?
I certainly don't remember that.
That is a very cool addition if that's the case.
Mm-hmm. It looks like we're just not going to get Shonen Jump covers at all anymore, because Warden Higuma was on the front, and the only way you can see that is in like the series preview thing. Maybe it'll be featured like on the Viz homepage where it says like, go read this week's manga, that kind of thing. But
I was specifically referring to the ones that happened before chapters.
We don't have the, in case you haven't been reading it, here's a quick catch up. Because we expect you to read these from chapter 1 now.
in case at some point we decide to bring back Ruby and start talking about, we're just going to have to remember that Junior is a very important character.
Yeah. All right. So getting back into the series itself, The One for All Dream. Toshinori had been watching the interclass competition, and he got a call. They have to go and answer, and it's from Gran Torino. So Gran Torino just says, hey, you wanted to ask if Shimura had ever mentioned dreaming about One for All. I remember that now. And then he says, like, now I'm also kind of old and senile, so I don't remember much. This comes out and says it.
Do you have my keys? I don't remember where my keys are. Just like, I called you.
Are you the Meals on Wheels boy? Where's my food?
Like, oh, no. Is this the sad turn this character's taken?
Should we be allowing this man with jet engines in his legs to still be going around fighting crime? Do we trust his judgment? Why did you beat up this innocent woman? She looked suspicious. I don't like the way she was looking at me.
I like to think it's the more playful tones where it's like, why'd you punch your mailbox upon? It was staring at me weird. Like, oh, Grandpa, you could potentially kill us all.
We cut away from the conversation between them, though, to focus on the match between Deku's group and Shinso's group. And so basically, they point out, like, well, Deku's team composition is a little bit similar to Bakugo's, so maybe they're going to do the same thing. But Sarah points out, well, yeah, but they don't have Jiro to, use her ears to sense everything. And if they don't want to get caught in a trap, then they're going to have to be a lot more careful. And there's a really weird little detail because, like, Sarah is telling, yeah, they don't have a Jiro type on their side. And Jiro is, like, behind him, and she goes, that's me. It's really weird.
I'm like, who was that too?
So essentially, they say like, yeah, Midoriya is going to have to actually work harder than Bakugo in that case, which he always works harder than him, I feel. But yeah, considering that Bakugo completely destroyed Class 1B almost single-handedly, in order for Midoriya to, be better than him in this scenario, that's going to need to be really impressive. So basically, Deku's plan is he is going to bait them out. So as he starts approaching the other side, he sees them start to fling a projectile over, but then he hears a voice go, "Eek!" And he's like, "Oh, Uraraka." And he sees Monoma over among some pipes. And so he basically immediately realizes, because Monoma is, starts talking at length in his usual way, but in a lot more control, with a lot more control and a lot more, deliberately taunting as opposed to just being an arrogant asshole. And so Deku keeps quiet because, of course, he knows that he could have just been imitating Uraraka while he's got Shinso's quirk copied, so he can't respond to him verbally or else he'll get brainwashed. And he goes on for quite a while, and he's, trying to get him to second guess himself, saying like, "Hey, maybe you actually heard Uraraka. Maybe she's in trouble and you need to go help her. Maybe you shouldn't be paying attention to me." And then he says, "Oh, and I've been having a chat with Shinso, and we've agreed that the gifted will break this world. Your pal Bakugo, how is it that he can still smile without a care when he's the one who brought about the symbol of peace's downfall?" Wow, douchebag move. So Deku gets ready to blow his head off, it seems. I don't know how powerful his finger guns are anymore.
I mean, we're about to find out.
Yeah. So, but we cut over to the remaining three in Deku's team, and they're quite fine for the time being. Mineta believes that, that shot earlier must have been from Shinso. They've put a bunch of Mineta's grape things on this rope, essentially. It seems as though they're using it as like a fishing line, because it's trailing up like a net through a bunch of the piping. Then all of a sudden, a bunch of projectiles come blasting through the air, and Ashido uses her acid in order to block them. They keep on getting hammered by a bunch of stuff, though. And basically what's going on is that the three remaining members in Class 1B have a set of quirks that when they put them together, they can launch projectiles, make the projectiles increase in size, launch a second blast of impact once they've already been sent through the air. So very good when put in combination to just throw a bunch of shit at somebody and have it really pester them. That doesn't really remain relevant for very long, though. So, yeah, whatever. The thing that Gran Torino tells Toshinori is that, we were chatting at some point, and she said, "I had the weirdest dream last night. There was a man standing there, shrouded in black smoke. He spoke to me and said, 'It's not time yet.'" And at that moment, in the present, Deku is preparing to flick his arm, and all of a sudden, black energy just blasts out of his arm and starts curling around him like tentacles. And that's it. That's the chapter.
See you guys next week.
I'm sure he's fine.
Now, Nick, you are, by all extents, the far more knowledgeable person here when it comes to My Hero Academia. So yes. I'm curious to hear what you think this all means.
I have no fucking clue. I mean, there was no hint at all that anyone who possessed One for All had one of these kinds of attacks. I mean, after all Might went through his entire superhero career without dealing with this, apparently. So hopefully what this means is that this is just kind of One for All awakening a little bit, and it's just causing momentary troubles. Because obviously, you know, the reaction that Deku is most likely to have at the end of all this, once everything is calmed down, is going to be, oh my God, you know, I spent all this time working and trying to control my quirk, and now it's just, I have no idea how to control this now.
It is.
Hopefully it's not destroying his arm, is all I have to say, because it looks like it is.
That's so freak. But that is something I'm kind of curious. So my mind's like, oh, is this a new, more dangerous power, and Deku needs to find a way to control it? And my mind's saying, like, Deku learning to control his power has been the forefront of his character development when it comes to his power since the beginning. And I'm not sure if 200 chapters in, if we need to go to another level of like, but can you control this power?
Right.
My worry is like, I don't know if that's what this is supposed to be. My mind's like, maybe the next chapter happens and he almost fucking takes Monoma's head off, and maybe it's like you don't know when this kind of thing might happen, or something like that. I don't know. I'm just trying to think how they could do like another character arc of Deku that isn't just like, you have to learn to not put 10,000%. And maybe if you put it into a state where it's like, oh, this is subconscious, or you don't have even an ability to control this level of power coming in. Maybe it's, you know, it's that part that's still seeping in, or, you know, something connected to One for All, or all for one rather.
Also, one part of it that stands out to me is that it seems to just basically be an extension of like the energy patterns that appear on his body when he activates like full cowling, for example.
Yeah.
It does not appear as though it's actually harming him. I don't see, like, for example, any blood coming out of his body.
Yeah, it's tough to tell. It also looks like, I don't know if this is disrupting his shot. This is probably overanalyzing for a single panel kind of thing. But it's a very mysterious panel. I guess it leaves us in like a state of like, ooh, let's find out what happens next week.
Yeah, pretty much. Or I guess for some people, it'd probably be more like, what's going to happen to Deku?
Nick, he's only the third most popular character.
You can get rid of him.
We don't need him. Cut him.
Just put all of his votes on top of Bakugo's mountain of them.
This is the Bakugo series now, didn't you hear?
Bakugo no Hero Academia. All right. Let's talk about Shokugeki no Soma.
Let's do it.
Food Wars. It's chapter 292. So, the haves and the have-nots is the name of this chapter. This chapter is dedicated to the light chefs, answering the challenge laid out by the Noirs. And so the first one to do so is Tsukasa. And he starts to pull out a tool. And at that moment, they cut up to some of the people who are observing the competition, namely Senzaemon and Joichiro. And Senzaemon says that Eishi Tsukasa and the other Totsuki students have progressed to the third gate. It seems Misune's appraisal was quite accurate. The young chefs trained by Totsuki have worked hard to hone their chosen skills, enough so that they may now have reached a level that in Booker parlance borders on the freakish. That is such a weird way of saying that. He's pulled out a cheese grater. It's a long cheese grater.
Cheese grater sword.
Cheese grater with like a 3-foot long blade. Now, Chris, when I saw this a little bit later, because here at the apartment we have a cheese grater that is like this. Not 3 feet long, but the kind that's, got the narrow grate on it, on a rubber handle. And so I was like, hey, one of these actually showed up in Shokugeki no Soma when I was in the kitchen with Nicole. And she was like, okay, yeah. Yeah, except it was like 3 feet long. She was like, wait, what? And then I showed her what Tsukasa does with it, because he uses it like a sword, like a fencing blade, to stab the meat in order to grate it and cut it. And she was like, no, that's not what that does. She was so upset about it.
I'm not gonna lie. I was extremely upset, if only because the way this chapter ends looks like Soma's going up against the chainsaw lady, and I wanted nothing more for there to be a scene of Tsukasa clashing cheese grater sword with Nazi girl and her chainsaw sword. I wanted that shot so much.
Oh boy.
So you're saying you're not going to try this in the kitchen the next time?
No, I'm not going to try and use the cheese grater knife to stab beef in order to cut. So then we get some stuff on Megumi. Finally, she takes out a whole bunch of some of them look like knives, but some of them look like makeup tools. And the explanation we're given through the narrator is that the skill that Megumi has chosen to hone is presentation and charm. And having gone around the world and experienced many cultures, she's learned that it is necessary to change a dish's presentation at times, such as for those who are not accustomed to Japanese cuisine, so that they will be able to comprehend its level of deliciousness through presentations. Like, that actually makes perfect sense to me, as opposed to the cheese grater sword. And she cuts up the tenderloin into a frickin' blossom, which is ridiculous as well. And Tsukasa's like, I'm gonna use the Mezzaluna like I use all the time.
Everyone's like, what? He's using his fucking knife he uses in every fight. Oh, what a turnabout. Look at his character growth, everybody.
And Nazi chainsaw knife girl is like, oh, yeah, they're actually trying. You little wimps. If you don't have what it takes to even challenge me, then get the fuck out. It's like, yeah, okay.
This is the weirdest chapter. Its pacing is so strange, where I can only presume, based on the way this chapter ends, that this Nazi chainsaw lady shouting, "Get at all of you," was enough to dismiss like 80% of the chefs who came to this contest and made it this far. Like, these are supposed to be the top caliber of chefs, and all of them are like, shit, I'm out.
Well, she said that I should leave, so compared to that.
I mean, she looks like she has a position of authority. Who would dress like that if they weren't in charge?
I'm not going to argue with the woman with the chainsaw knife. Let's get out of here. So sends him on, kind of his remarks over to Joichiro. So what of your son? Does Soma Yukihira have it? And Joichiro is just like, what, Soma? Nah, he's just some kid from a hole-in-the-wall family restaurant, and I nagged him into going to Totsuki, so yeah, he should have probably just, gone through his life without having to deal with all these wacko noir. There's no way he'd stand a chance. At least, not normally. And then Soma smirks. And then we cut away. And the trials ended. And
remember when all
Soma passed.
Remember when everyone had their significant moment? Like, anyway, so we're in the next part of the competition. Like, I had to sit here, I'm like, did all of Noir, did Yu-Gi-Oh guy pass? He wasn't part of that group, but he
wasn't part of the demonstration. They're keeping him a secret, I guess.
It was like him, and I feel like there were other people that were alongside him that weren't all the other people. I don't know.
So now we're in one-on-one competition territory. We're past all of the gate trials, so now it's Soma versus Sarge, the chainsaw lady girl. And so Sarge is like, all right, come at me, you pansy. Show me your freakish talent. And Soma's like, freakish talent? Well, if you want to call it that. And that's the end of the chapter.
It's such a strange, I feel like at some point someone was like, yeah, these challenges are kind of boring. And they're like, yeah, but we got to do a third one. Do we? Do we really? And then they were like, I don't know, let's use it to set up all the villains and then be like, it was done. We got through it. All right. And the next round's one-on-one competition. Cool. Do we get some explanation to how it's going to work? No, we're just right in that first match. Sure. Okay. I just enjoy the pace of everything going directly right into this first fight with very little buildup.
Yeah. But hey, she's greater sword.
It's like I feel like there's so much more. Like we still haven't seen Asahi yet. Like I know Asahi got to go immediately to the third gate, like
right along with Erina, yeah.
And there's other people too. Like you'd assume that if you like put like I guess they already dropped Tsukasa, so who could potentially be better than that'd be in this contest. But it's just that sense of like I don't know. It's just weird to be like they're at the third gate, they're done, first round. I'm like, wait, nothing happened in the middle. That's worth noting. All right, whatever. Maybe we'll find out next week.
It started off really strongly too, with that, with the old man and thinking he's going to kill himself, and then Soma saves his life inadvertently, and then since then it's just kind of been like, okay, whatever.
Soma fucks up a contest he should have been expertly like almost customly built to succeed at.
Yeah, and then Soma has a chance to redeem himself, and we don't get to see how he does it.
He just did.
I would guess that we're probably going to get that like in a flashback afterwards, but who knows?
Sure. I mean, I'm not saying that it's necessarily interesting. It's just a very strange thing to jump over.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see. So we don't have either Eden Zero or Seven Deadly Sins this week. Nope. So I guess we'll just jump into some jump starts and Nick's throat will die. So we get the third chapter of Chainsaw Man. Denki is introduced to another agent named Aki, and Aki, takes Denki over to an alleyway and immediately starts beating him up because he correctly analyzes, "You're just here because you've got the hots from Makima, don't you?" And he says, "I've seen a lot of agents come and go. Everyone who came in with a shallow reason for being part of this group has been killed by a demon, and you need strong convictions in order to make it through here. So, I'll just, tell you what, I'll leave you here and I'll say that you got scared of a devil and ran away. Just, you stay back here and I'll spare you this fate." And so Denki comes up from behind him and knees him in the balls. And he says, "When I fight guys, I only aim for the crotch." And he keeps on kicking him in the dick while he's on the ground.
You know what? If it's good enough for Shinsuke Nakamura, it's good enough for me.
But he says, like, "Hey, today I actually got to eat udon and a hot dog for the first time. I got treated like a real person. I was actually treated to a meal. This is like living a dream. So, yeah, maybe I became a devil hunter for a shallow reason, but I'm willing to die to keep living like this." He starts to actually get real reflective and think about how, Chainsaw Dog is living inside of him, too. So he's got that to consider as well. And so Aki takes the chance to start fighting back, and Denki just kicks him in the dick again.
I mean, it really is like my entire fighting style from No Mercy personified in a character. Where you're just like, how many dick shots can I put onto a single character?
And change that to a low blow, and change that to a low blow.
My finisher is another low blow.
You ain't having kids after you're done with me. They kind of come to an understanding afterwards, and Denki takes him back to see Makima again. And she's like, "So, do you guys think you can get along?" And they're like, "No, we hate each other." And so she says, "Good, I'm glad that you guys are getting along." So she says that Denji is now going to get assigned to Aki's group. And he's like, "What? Why?" "Because he's special. Because he's a human who can turn into a devil. I've heard rumors, but I had no idea." And she says, "Well, this means that Denji is a special case. If he ever quits or disobeys orders, then he has to be killed and put down as a devil." So they're like, "Yep, you got to work to us until you're dead." So they walk off. They walk through the streets again. And Denji's like, "Is Makima a bad person?" And Aki says, "Well, if you think she's a bad person, then maybe you should just give up on her. But you're a devil, so you should be grateful that we haven't killed you. So, yeah, she is a good person. I owe her my life." And then she thinks that, hey, she kind of saved his life too. And she thinks, I want to hug her again. And he's like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Goddamn weird loser. All right, Nick, this is the moment.
Yeah.
It's the third chapter of a series. We get to put our vote into action. Nick, what say you?
I don't know.
We can't let the first one go like this.
Oh, well, I'm not going to just just suddenly put my thumb up or down immediately.
I'm going to burn the series to the ground. Boo.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not especially excited about it. I thought that it started off well. It was a very complete first chapter. I think that just as time has gone by, like Denji's weirdness is getting kind of weird, But I did appreciate this chapter in terms of what it did. Establishing is like, Denji's not a typical protagonist. He's not doing this for the right reasons. He's just doing this because A, he has no option, and B, because he's a very simple-minded guy who got given good things by his boss. But having it put into the perspective of she saved his life and this is something that he has always wanted to have. So it may not seem all that great to most people, but it means the world to him. And so he will put his life on the line in order to keep it. That I do appreciate. I think that if we were going to read this, then I think that I might get sick of it, though. It's a very kind of weird feeling series, just the way that it's kind of paced and the way that people act around each other.
So where does it fall, Nick?
I mean, if you wanted to read it, I would say yes. But
then we're doing it, guys.
We're doing
Chainsaw
it. Okay.
Man, following it forward. And every week we had a new conditional vote on where I'm like, do we want to continue it now? And if we say no, we both have to drink a bottle of hot sauce.
I'm not agreeing with that.
All right, well, I'm just going to do it myself then.
You knock yourself out, literally.
Nick, it's not as though eating hot food and then doing anything else has burned me in the past couple months at all.
Literally.
There are still scorch marks by my toilet.
God.
Like a car burned out right out of the bowl.
Ew. Let's talk about Warden Higuma, sorry. Our new series in Shonen Jump, which I am actually really, really excited by. I think that it's another one of those Exorcist style series, but I really like the two main characters that we've been introduced to, and I like the aesthetic of the series, and the way that Higuma actually fights devils. He has all of these hands that obey him, and they can, freely manipulate a bunch of tools for him. He can do a lot of things at once, and then when it comes time to fight, he combines with his hands, and their powers get a lot stronger, and that allows him to fight against these devils. So I think that it's really cool, and I definitely want to see more from it. There's also some really good stuff in terms of the female lead, whose name escapes me at this time. She has some very strong convictions about what is right and justice. And so even though she has no powers, she wants to help out and always wants to do the right thing. Whereas Higuma has a lot more of a laid back kind of approach to things. They meet because he's getting harassed by a drunk on a bus, and she stands up for him. And he's like, yeah, I mean, that guy wasn't actually bothering me all that much. Actually, it kind of bothers me a little bit that you were, just assuming that what was best for me and acting when I didn't ask you to. But she has actually come specifically to see him. That's why they were on the same bus. She just didn't know who he was because she's been possessed by a devil, but she doesn't realize that. And she's been stealing without meaning to because she's been possessed by this very minor demon. And after the exorcism, they get to know each other a little bit. Turns out that the reason she was possessed by a demon was because her brother was possessed by a much stronger demon. that's the one that Higuma ends up actually fighting in order to free him from that. And there's some other stuff, like we're introduced to these people who are observing Higuma's actions, talking about some great destiny he probably has to fulfill, yeah. It's a pretty standard stuff for he's like, okay, here's this, shonen battle thing, especially for the kind that's like he exercises demons. But I do really like the way that it looks, and I like the characters that we've been introduced to so far. So I'm very excited by this one.
Okay.
So read it for next week, why don't you? And Lation. So think he gets kidnapped by the mob. Neo is bullshit, and tracks them down, and then makes their printers shoot burning pieces of paper at them. I don't know how that's possible.
I mean, it's not unheard of. I know you can force printers to like do things like that.
Fire?
I mean, that's where I guess if you're like you'd have to be able to like have a outside remote wireless system that could fuck with the internals of the system. I would sit here and criticize it, but I'm not tech savvy enough to actually say like that wouldn't work. I don't honestly know, and in my ignorance, I'm able to suspend my disbelief to be like, sure, why not? Like all this hacking stuff's fucking beyond me. So, and I do actually appreciate that Neo's...
Nothing like reading a manga about overclocking to make you realize how little you know about computers.
I still don't really know what overclocking means. People say it, and I'm like, that sounds like a bad thing. But I do appreciate there's certain things that Neo did this, like having to call 3 times to actually get a real triangulation. It's like he called a single tower, and he's like, I know where he is by now. He's like, oh, I had to get different cell towers, and use that to pick up where you were. Because the guy's using a burner phone. There's a lot of little small touches like that. It's interesting because I guess this is sort of just another follow-up to it. I do also appreciate that, like, he knew this plan was happening, so he calls the firemen in to get in there as soon as it's happening. And he's like, well, what is that going to do? And then they're like, yeah, you have a kid tied up. Oh, fuck. God damn it.
Call the police.
So... I do like that. It does feel it like falls into this level of, showing off what Neo could do. It also shows that even though he's got a very strange way of acting, he really does seem to like Daigo. I wanted to call him Denji. The Daigo a lot. I think this is a series that would be better suited like 5 or 10 chapters from now when it's able to get the more meat. Right now we're seeing the main character just stomp all over idiots, basically, which is fine at the start. But I would be curious to see what happens when you put more intricate plot lines into effect.
It is always weird whenever you have one of those, like, we have to have this protagonist do some badass stuff despite the fact that they're not just a combatant. So, it's like going back several years, like with Lock On. It's like, we've got to have this photographer be a tremendous badass. Well, how does he do that? It's like, well, he's got good vision and he takes pictures.
There's a lot of room, I think, for the series to get better. I know there's also, I think, a third character supposed to be introduced at some point. There was a female character on the cover, looked like maybe a good cheerleader or something. So I'll be curious to see what happens when like the full cast is in effect and how they play off of each other. But I thought it was decent for a second chapter.
I liked it better than the first one, all of it. So, all right, Chris. Let's talk about We Never Learn.
Oh, Nick, I hurt my throat right there. Do you want to take this one, too? You should probably take Black Clover while we're at it now. All right, so We Never Learned, question 92. Sometimes a genius primes the pump for X, which isn't suggestive, but sounds so close to being suggestive that it's there.
Your mind is kind of already at that level because of how the chapter starts off. Because you're just like, oh god, I hope that like literally nothing sexual happens. Like, oh no.
So last time, Uega was hypnotized, gave his whole revelation about having like a private passion he's been wanting to follow but not, and then kind of passed out. And when he woke up, he was in Ogata's room, and she was undressing. So whoa, Nick, what's happening?
No!
Turns out she was addressing because she carried him all the way upstairs, and that was a lot of hard work. So she's kind of all hot and sweaty, so she wanted to change out of her hot, sweaty clothes. And he woke up during that time frame.
Okay. I know that it's Ogata who did this, and she doesn't think, normal things logically, but she is a 17-year-old girl who was just changing in front of a guy in the same room because she thought he was asleep.
A guy she likes.
That's careless. Okay. When I was that age, I would never have done that. I would never have there's someone in the room with me, but they're asleep, so I'll just go ahead and change instead of immediately ducking into the bathroom because I don't want anyone to see me. So
I would like it if they explained her thought process, where she lays him down and then servos are going on
it's beginning changing process.
Uncomfortable, should change now. Analysts or analyze. Person asleep in room should not wake up. Change now. No time.
She's saying stuff further than will not wake up.
Must suffocate man to make sure it does not awaken. Change clothes, so sweaty. So anyway, that's the situation. They have a whole moment of you can be I don't see anything. They have their whole moment there. But then Ogata's more importantly, lay your head on my lap. And she's like, you've done so much for me, so I want to pamper you for once. And Yuiga's like, yeah, I think you should be more careful around guys suggesting something like the boosh, and he falls asleep again because of her hypnosis. So he's aware that he's being hypnotized this time, and is
it's played for laughs this time,
where he's just oh God, what's happening? And they have this moment of her being yeah, you're gonna feel really relaxed, and he's oh, why does this feel so good? And she's oh wow, he's so cute, and she actually pushes her boobs into him. And then she's oh, what a good boy. And he's what's happening now? And she tries to feed him, and does, but she feeds him
she stuffs a giant carrot into his mouth.
He's thinking it's gonna be this sweet moment of here's your food, and instead it's just boom, crunch, 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 crunch. And she's he's why a raw carrot? And she's oh, you were so cute, I came to associate with the pet rabbits I used to have. And
her pet rabbits, Rabita, Rabiko, and Rabimi.
Yeah. And then she notes that they ran away one day. This poor girl's pets all run away.
They went to live with Karisu's sister's dog.
But yeah, they have that whole moment, and he's just I'm really sorry to impose. And Ogata's come on, tell me what you want to do, before you just give up on everything. Why don't you let me support you? He's no, it wouldn't be right for me to do this anyway. So she tries to start hypnotizing him again, because she's the hypnosis must be wearing off. And in the process of trying to get him hypnotized, she hypnotizes herself, and she wants to be cared for. So, she's can I lay my head on your lap? Will you stroke my head? Will you feed me? And of course, he feeds her more raw carrots, because I guess that's just the only thing right there. But eventually, they both kind of get over the hypnosis, and Yuiga kind of eventually speaks up and says, you know what? If everything goes according to plan, and maybe I just will turn down the VIP recommendation. I was just kidding. Forget I said anything about that. There's no point agonizing over it. Ogata grabs us no, this is the time to agonize. You've worked so hard for the VIP recommendation, but now you found something you want so bad that you would give it up. And they have a little argument. He's I can't do that. And she's no, you can't let this go. Don't pretend you don't have a dream when you do have one. And she's getting kind of frustrated because she doesn't know how to put it eloquently. So she's go ahead and agonize over it lots. And when you're tired, let me take care of and support you. And he's oh, you're very sweet, Rizu. She's just use my name. And then she realizes that because she had her hand on his head, it was like activating latent hypnosis essentially, and was making him hypnotized again. That's a chapter.
Yep. There is some cuteness in this, but it's also just kind of really weird, and also kind of fetishy. There is some good stuff in terms of the character development for Yuiga, and I do like seeing Rizu be more assertive in how their personal relationship works. Say like, no, you actually have to like take care of yourself, because usually she's always the one who's got to be like given the advice and guided. So I like seeing that turned around and having her be on this kind of level with Yuiga. So, and that's it. Yeah.
There's not too much to say about this one.
Yeah.
It's an interesting premise. I hope gets explored more, because we still haven't found out what it is Yuiga is kind of, thinking about. And after like the last two story arcs that had like these kind of more impactful moments out of them, this one felt like it didn't have this one felt more fetishy than earnest by the end.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to Dr. Stone then, Chris, because it's time
to get stoned. Hey, Nick, do you see he has a watch there on the cover page?
Yes, he does.
Nice.
He's got a lot of jewelry.
I wonder what time it is right now.
Well,
time to get stoned, Nick! Also 8:50, according to my clock.
Yeah. So this chapter, Z equals 86, Senku's Door, is about a couple of things. The continuation of the Kingdom of Science having an economy now, and also about everyone having to learn to fucking fly. Which initially Magma is like, oh, come on, there's no way you could get us up. And then he remembers all the times that Yo has laughed at everyone because it's like, oh, primitives don't understand it. And so he looks back at him and Yo's like, I don't fucking know how we're going to fly. Don't look at me. which is a nice twist on the joke. So Kaseki gets really pumped up because he's like, oh, in order for us to get airborne, it's probably going to have to be a really long roadmap in order to get there. I'm getting all set in order for us to do this. And Senku just like, we need hemp thread and to make cloth, and then we'll make a hot air balloon. And that's it.
It is great. Like, this is the greatest process we'll ever do. My magnum opus. I'll never do anything. They're like, we just need like one thing.
And Senku's like, yeah, hot air balloons are actually kind of simple considering all the technology that we have at our disposal right now. And Nikki asks like, hey, well, if you're going to use hemp cloth to make it, isn't the air just going to leak out? And Senku says, no. The first ever hot air balloon was actually made that way, so it'll be fine. There is even the theory that the ancient Nazca lines were observed that way by their creators. It's one of the easiest vehicles to make. The greatest hurdle is going to be... And so Yuzuri is like, oh no, we're going to need a lot of cloth. So at first Senku gets really like, yes, but he like turns into a snake for a little bit. It's like, oh, it looks like we're going to need to rely on you. But then he actually gets very sincere about it. It's like, hey, we need to actually plan for this. We're going to actually be really relying on you to pull through on this. And he actually bows to her and says, can we leave this all to you? And she says like, all right, you got it. Let's do this, handicrafts team. And of course, Taiju's there to help her out. And Yo is too. And he's like, why am I here? So they start getting to work. They have to, of course, separate out the hemp. Magma and Yo get into another fight over stuff. Yuzuriha starts explaining the actual process of spitting out hemp fiber from the hemp. And she says, okay, yeah, we started on the process. This is how you do it. And Yo's like, oh, this might actually be fun. And Yuzuriha says, all we need is about tens of thousands of kilometers of this stuff. Enough to circumnavigate the world. So a whole line of people starts spinning out this thread, which confuses Magma because he's like, how are we going to fly with these? And Yo says, we're not going to fly with just threads. We're going to make cloth out of it, you idiot. And they get into another fight. Yuzuriha shows how, like, okay, in order to make cloth from thread, you have to stretch it out like a harp, and then you weave another thread across it horizontally over and over, and then you alternate and you go the other way, and then you do this, and then you have to tighten it together in order to make a long grid. And yeah, it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of hard work. But if we were just to do it this way, then it would take us a lot longer, because what we could do is we could make a loom. And so Kaseki gets some instructions from Yuzuriha, and she actually gets a lot of the explanation in this whole chapter because she's part of the Antichrist Club. She knows all this stuff works. And so she explains that you would do this and you do this, and there are holes that line up. And you do this when you hit the lever, and then it separates it all and then brings it together. So Kaseki draws up blueprints. He and Senku get to work on it. And then it comes out in this, it looks like a printing press.
Yeah, I like how she's just like, I can't wait to have a loom. But she's like thinking of his little like handheld one.
Like an abacus-sized one. And this massive fucking thing. And he starts pumping it.
They're so proud too. Like if you look back, Senku,
yes!
you're like, yeah, we did it.
Well, and so they make it, and then Senku's like, oh, sorry, this was kind of on short notice. Did you want it to be electric instead of hand driven? No, this is amazing! And yeah, over time, eventually they make a whole bunch of cloth. And so Senku's like, oh, this is great. If we just get a little bit more, then we can do this. But he says, like, we need a little bit more. Yuzuriha says, a lot of that won't make the cut because the cloth breathes too easily, so it won't hold the hot air in the balloon. So Gen gets an idea. He's like, there's still not enough thread, so come on, get back to the grindstone with all of you. And as an incentive, we'll have a little contest. Whoever makes the longest thread wins, a prize of 10,000 Dragos. And he's got like $100 bill on top of a bunch of just blank paper in order to make it look like he's holding a huge stack of money. And Senku says, hey, where are we getting all these funds from? And Gen's like, we're going to have a lot of extra cloth that's too breathable. So why not use that? And they look at Yuzuriha, who's so exhausted already by this point. And then she's like, yes, I've got an idea.
This chapter has made me love Yuzuriha. When they just needed to, I guess, show her in something that she's this passionate about. Yeah. I loved like how every scene is just her being like, oh, like she's just like the beleaguered, put upon person. And then these moments she looks like a corpse walking by. She's like, I can't do more clothes. And they're like, what if we started making like designing clothes? And she's like, I want to do that.
She starts setting up some designs, and then she turns into a JoJo character while she's sewing it. And so, freaking like Yo and Kinro are watching her as like she's become a berserker. What's happening to her? And Taiju's like, bring her food, and he's like, well, no, this is what people do when she crafts. It's just completely normal to him. That's real love. Like if someone acts that weird and they're just like, yeah, they do that.
What's up?
So we get a little bit of time skip. Yuzuriha comes out with some clothes, and so all of a sudden we get these like magazine ads for all this clothing with a bunch of the characters modeling for it. So there's Ruri and Kinro, and holy shit, does Kaseki look awesome?
Kaseki looks fucking boss.
He looks pimp. I easily my favorite part of this chapter, honestly. Just a great little 2-page spread of nobody knowing how to react except Kaseki, who's just like, yeah.
He's like, I know what I'm looking like. I'm hot grandpa. Gadilf over here.
So they started, giving out clothes to people and stuff. And so Gen's like, yes, the department store's initial offerings are a bit on the pricey side. So it may be a while before we sell out the entire line. And Senku says, let's just give it away to the workers. And again is shocked by this. And he says, "Yeah, we've got a King Midas over there with bottomless pockets." And sure enough, fucking Captain Admiral Idiot has bought all of the clothing the Yuzuriha has made. And he's like, wait, did I just make a mistake? And Ken and Senko are celebrating over their fucking money. And that's the end of the chapter.
I gotta love this series and just how kooky and zany it is. Like, I love this moment of him like, yeah, let's just give the rest. This guy's gonna do all the work for us. And I'm like, ah! Wait a minute. And then I'm like,
did I just do exactly what they wanted me to do?
Like some fucking Ren and Stimpy level shit in their face. Like, ah!
Their hair is turning into devil horns.
Super good chapter.
Yeah, a lot of fun in this, and featuring a character that we haven't really gotten to see a whole lot out of. Yuzuriha, of course, had the standout moment where we saw that she was reassembling the shattered statues one by one. But it was nice to see like a full chapter really dedicated to her and what she could offer to this group. And I do think that that's one of the stronger points of Dr. Stone is that when it takes that large cast that it's accumulated and says, hey, we've got this character who's really good at this one thing, so let's give them in the limelight, and that's what this one did. All right. No Seven Deadly Sins, so straight to the Promised Neverland. We gotta save Chris.
I know, it's a danger. Chris could die at any moment. But don't worry, Nick, because who better to save Chris than the Promised Neverland's 5th most popular character, Anna?
This was such a weird, it really felt
I guess we'll have to bring Zach. No, guys. I'll take
stay here. This really felt as though Shirai and Demizu got the results of the poll and they were like, what, really? Okay. It's Breaking into the Cage, Part 1, Chapter 116 of The Promised Neverland. So, they're going to go to this farm in order to get medical supplies to save Chris's life. They're like, okay, we're going to go with Jin, not Jin, Hayato, and Emma, and Ray, and Zach. And then Anna's like, no, let me go. And I was like, wait, what? Literally, everyone's like, are you sure about this?
Like, I'm not crazy sure.
But Anna's like, listen, with this large group, what if the demons or the Rotary clan attack? We need Zach and Sandy here in order to handle emergencies because they're super crazy competent and good at their jobs, apparently. But eventually Zach's like, Anna's actually right. Yeah. Anna's the one who is most familiar with the medicine. Right, Sandy?
Remember
yeah. Nick? For the past year and a half, she's been studying medicine.
Remember Anna's defining character trait is that she's always been really dedicated to medicine and studying it. That's her thing. So I thought it was really cool to get that.
Remember how she was crazy good at using her bankai? Remember how talkative and dedicated to Yamamoto she was?
She was so diligent. We're going to miss her most of all.
But that being said, I prefer this to, oh no, Chris is dying. Who was Chris again?
It's everyone's favorite character, Nick.
A character coming out of nowhere to say, I will go on this mission and do stuff is infinitely more preferable to this character is dying and we will miss them. And still also more preferable to suddenly this character is important. Remember how she studied, marksmanship and trained under Lucas for years, and that's why she was the one to kill Andrew, because she's so good at this stuff. It's like, no, I'm going on this mission where medicine is important. I've been studying medicine, and now before anything super important happens, now you know that about me. So
it's just such a weird note because it's we only have so many details that are known about the cast. You have Emma and Ray, and then to a lesser extent Dawn and Gilda, and then to an even lesser extent beyond that, Zach, Violet or Viola, I can't remember her name.
Violet, yeah, tomboy girl, yeah.
And then a very scant amount about a scattering of other characters. Anna didn't even show up in the list to me. I cannot understand how she made like the 5th most popular character to Promised Neverland outside of the thing that they're like, well, there really only are like 5 characters anyway. And 2 of them are evil. So they probably weren't going to get all the votes.
He's going to get the votes. Sandy, he's got a broccoli head on his eye patch.
He's stupid. So it's like, it's a weird moment where you're just like, yeah, Anna and all of her dead. Hope nothing happens to Anna while they're busy saving Chris.
So
I want like a 3rd layer of nonsense to get on top of this. Like, I hope nothing bad happens to Anna, or while they're going to save Chris, or else Jeff is going to have to run in and try to save both of them because he considers himself kind of with Emma or Anna. And really, the 2 of them together kind of act like parents to Chris, in their own way. So, I mean, and Jeff's such a loose cannon. You never know what's going to happen.
We just next chapter has nothing to do with them going to the farm. It's just it's like that chapter with Phil. Like, here's a bit of catch me up on what I've been up to. But it's focused on a random character who you've seen the background, but never got the name of before. So he's like, yeah, we've actually been dating for 3 years now.
You might know me as Fat Chops and think I just like a lot of cookies, but I'm actually the most balls to the wall hardcore killer in this group.
Also,
and I'll snap the neck of anyone who tries to hurt my family.
They're gonna come to a door, like the one in the Fellowship of the Ring, where they've got to solve the riddle in Elvish in order to speak the password and get through. And they're like, well, fortunately, Turnip Head here is actually really skilled at solving riddles, so we'll be good in order to get through this. If we come across Gollum, we'll be good because Turnip Head is here.
I'm now imagining, how Lord of the Rings, the movie, ended with, Frodo in the bed, and they, kind of sequentially brought the characters back to the level of importance they had to Frodo and the story at large. Right. So, I want to see how this story starts with, her, Emma, in bed, and she's just like, Charles! Everyone's like, oh, I guess Charles is the thing. And eventually you're sitting there like, oh my god, when the fuck do we get to Don and Gilda? I don't even know how important they are to the story, but for fuck's sake.
And then Oliver's the last one through, and he starts laughing in slow motion, and it looks really creepy.
Andrew comes through the door at some point. He's just
everyone's still laughing while they shoot him in the head.
He's just finger gunning as he gets gunned down again.
Anyway. They get to the farm. What a long journey it was to get here. Hayato says it's a lower class mass production farm, so there's lighter security. So we'll just get through. Make sure you don't get caught by the camera. Don't make any noise because the cameras detect sound too. Anyway, get through stealthily. We'll get the medicine and get out of here. Now down through the manhole cover. Teenage Mutant Ninja Rebels. So people start going through the tunnels. It's hard to climb through tunnels.
We've all been there.
Yeah. Demons are watching security cameras and they're like, there's nothing's wrong. I'm bored. Everything's fine. Yep. And then a demon spots Anna, who's on patrol, and they're like, ah! And Ray shoots him in the head, and they're like, oh, run! And they immediately have to split up. Ray goes in one direction. Hayato goes after him. And Emma and Anna are off on their own, and they have to go and get the medicine while Hayato tries to help out Ray. And that's it. That's the chapter. I hope that Emma and Anna can get the medicine. Chris.
Well, Anna, Nick, I don't know if you've heard. She's been spending the last couple years diligently studying medicine for just this moment. So if anyone can do it, it's going to be Anna.
She put her hair up before going on this mission.
She tied her hair back, which is the universal sign for women that they're about to get serious.
Yeah, put your hair up and square up.
Mm-hmm. She's such a great wrestler, too. I like Sonya Deville a lot.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the chapter.
I have more to say about Sonya Deville than I do about this chapter.
She looked really good when she was in that battle royal with Asuka. Maybe she can be like her next big challenger or something. Nope, it's Charlotte again. Okay.
Well, hey, Nick, I mean, somebody's gotta hold up the SmackDown women's division.
Yeah, I mean, who else is gonna do it? Couldn't be someone who actually happens to have a similar hairstyle to Hannah.
Couldn't be the hottest act in professional wrestling right now. All right, page 186 for Black Clover, The Eyes in the Mirror. So last time our heroes escaped from the mirror realm and they came back, or not mirror, the dream realm rather, glamour world, whatever it was called.
This chapter is about mirrors. So.
Yeah. And we saw that Patry, in combination with the elf that has taken over Gauch's body, used this combination magic to completely dismantle the Black Bull's headquarters. And there's a moment where they need to kind of save themselves. So we have a moment where Gordon makes a shit ton of poison. They're like, oh my god, we're going to fall into your poison and die. But then Gray changes it into cotton, and they're fine. And I kind of like that kind of clever way of saving themselves, especially when there was just the easy answer of like, why don't we just have our spatial mage over here teleport us out? Is that what Voltros is here for? But yeah, there's this moment, and Henry, actually a lot of the characters start having their magic fading away because Charmy's not there, Nick. Apparently Charmy is just force feeding food into these characters when we're not looking at them, because without Charmy, every character starts falling apart. Like, you know, Henry's like, get away from me, because like
he'll eat everyone's mana. Yeah,
and then Noelle's magic is just ripping away from her, and Zora's like, wow, yeah, he's putting on a brave face, but even he's like, I don't have much magic left either. So Yami's like, idiots, surpass your limits right now. And everyone's like,
why don't you do something?
Everyone's like, great pep talk, Cap. I'm so glad you really cut to the emotional core of all of us so succinctly. Like, if it didn't work, would you just be like afterwards, be like, I don't know why it didn't work. I told him to get better. I thought that would work. I thought that would do it.
I can even imagine, like, if he says that and Zora's just like, fuck you!
I really do want Zora to be like, don't you have any better advice than get good? You're not even giving us a direction to go in. So, you know, it's the two of them are headed out towards, I guess, the big energy portal that's kind of all coming together. Yami and Jack the Ripper. So Patry's like, well, I'll go away, and it's going to be the elf in Gauche and the elf in Marie. One of them's Ekra.
That's the one in Marie.
Yeah, I forget what the one in the other one is, but it's the two of them left. So we see Gauche, Elf Gauche, whatever, makes all of his mirrors. And then Ekra uses her eye magic and basically bounces it all throughout. And she does it to basically find where everyone is. And then because of her magic power, she could freeze everyone as well. So Marie has a ton of magic potential, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, wow.
Binds anyone who looks into her eyes. She's like, she's got a paralytic gaze.
And they're like, oh shit, we're done for. None of us can cast a single spell. But Asta was holding the magic nullification sword, and it's
the demon sword of bullshit.
Yeah, and it reached out and it cancels the magic. It can't cancel it on himself, it doesn't look like. But it cancels it at least on Gray, Henry, and Gordon. So they can move and they can try to do something. They're firing a bunch of beams. And the three of them use some techniques to kind of block it. I guess Asta does get freed, because he also swings back. So I guess it frees everybody. Guess that's what the sword could do. And they even fire a shot back. Asta reflects a shot back towards Gauche, and it just barely grazes by him. And he's like, ooh, yeah, it's pretty good. And Asta starts thinking like, yeah, I know Gauche's magic really well, and it kind of irritates me because he's kind of a dick. He's a jerk to all of us. And they all think about that. They're all like, yeah, I mean, you know, when he gets back, he's going to be insulting all of us. And, you know, he's going to be back to his weird self-showing pictures of his little sister.
Actually, come to think of it, do we want to save this guy? He's really weird.
You know what? Let's actually just nip this one in the bud.
Oh no, we accidentally killed him.
Oh, I thought it was my magic nullifying sword, but it was just my regular sharp sword through his torso.
Asta's just been carrying around a shiv with him all this time.
Oh, I just threw my replica buster sword through him. I thought it was the nullifying sword. Like, they look nothing alike.
Oh well, I guess Gouch has just been impaled on a sword now.
What do we get? Guys, come on.
Mimosa comes over to him, like, I'll use my healing magic. Oh, nope.
Snaps her neck. No. Oh, no, someone killed Mimosa.
Who could have done this? Who has her blood on their hands? He's like, has red all over his hands.
What fool would be so brave to investigate this murder, huh? As he's
puts on like a cap and a corncob pipe. I'll solve the case.
I'm just a small town city lawyer, but I think there's not enough evidence to ever come to a conclusion, and we must toss this case out. Out in favor.
When there is no evidence convicting Asta of this crime, you must acquit Asta.
It's like, look, we don't have law magic, so I think he's in the right. I think he just isn't.
That's why there are so many laws that are in Latin. It's because they're the invocation spells. Habeas corpus.
So that is effectively the chapter 2. It ends with all the characters being like, we're going to save Gouch, and then, we're going to complain to his face about everything.
Yeah.
That
asshole, he's our asshole.
That dick bastard. We hate him. Can't wait to have him back. Yeah. And Gouch Elf is like, all right, so we're going to do that next then. So, Nick, prepare yourself, because next week
they're going to do that.
They're going to do that.
To that guy.
I don't know if they can beat that.
Yeah, no.
Unless they go with those. That's it. That's chapter this week.
That's the week. We have no One Piece to talk about. So this is unfortunately going to be a pretty short edition of Weekly Manga Recap. Although, hey, maybe you kind of missed the hour-long days for all I know. But we were down like 4 series and went through the jump starts pretty quickly. So
I like that there's someone out there with like pet fish that are clearly floating to the top of the surface, and they're like, finally, I can feed my fish now. There's hour-long Weekly Manga Recaps again.
What?
Like they were just delayed. Like we always just delayed them just long enough that their pets died.
I've been going to the pet store day after day after day.
I said to my cat, I'll feed you right after Weekly Manga Recap. I know I can see how long it is, but I presume it'll only be an hour to an hour and a half, which is just...
Oh, it was 2.5 hours? No!
Oh! Charles McWhiskers is dead!
Charles McWhiskers the 57th is dead!
I don't know why the Humane Society keeps letting me get pets. But I'm not one to complain. Now I'm just a small town podcast listener.
For some reason, they listen to podcasts while we're in like the suspenders.
Sitting on like a rocking chair.
All right, favorite chapter in MVP.
This one I feel like is a very simple one. My favorite chapter of the week is Dr. Stone, and my MVP of the week is Yuzuriha.
I agree on Yuzuriha. I am going to name my favorite chapter as Hell Warden Higuma, because I had a lot of fun reading this new manga, and I have high hopes for it. So,
well, that's good. I'm excited.
Let's wrap things up then. Thank you everyone for joining us for Weekly Manga Recap. If you want more of the show, you can check us out on Weekly Manga Recap. .podbean.com, as well as on our YouTube channel and on iTunes. And if you check us out in those places, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, leave a rating so that you can help out with the algorithm and help us to defeat the woodworkers and ascend to the top of the hobby section. If you want to, if you want more updates on when we're going to do the show, normally we tend to do the show on smashcast.tv/RLOT and twitch.tv/RLOT around 7:30 Eastern time on Thursdays. But sometimes we do need to change that up. So to stay updated on what we're planning on doing, follow us on Twitter @WMR Podcast, @RLOT, and @NickFTime. If you have anything that you want to say to us, if you want to send feedback, ask us questions for Q&A episodes, suggest a future manga for us to read, you can send that stuff via email to weeklymangarecap@yahoo.com, or you can visit our Discord channel. And there are a number of different chat rooms to do all sorts of different kinds of stuff, including making suggestions and recommendations for us to read, where you can also see the giant grid of stuff that we have that has already been suggested or has already been read on the show. Special thanks go out to our Patreon supporters, which allows us to create all sorts of fun bonus content for you guys to enjoy. Thanks as well to CMan, our tarot card artist, and to the Infamous Planet. Not the Infamous Planet, just Infamous Planet now, because he's very particular about that. So the visual editions of our podcast that he's done and all the work that you do on our show. So that is it. That's everything. I believe that we'll probably have 87 clockers soon. Yeah.
Also worth noting, because we usually do this after the show, but I'll throw it out there. So I take part in a D&D podcast, Don't Dice Funk. Got new episodes coming up. But Nick is also going to be a part of a special one-shot for the Dice Funk.
Yes. So that should be coming out relatively soon. I think that it's actually coming out before the end of the month. I'll have to double check.
I think it's going to be the week after, because we're taking. So we have a regular episode this week, then there's a prequel episode the week after that, and then it's the one shot. So I think it'll be the first week of January. There'll be a Dice Funk with Nicholas Freeman in it.
Yeah. Okay, so if you want to hear me play a humorless centaur, then go check that out.
But who are you going to be playing in the game?
Boom.
Merry Christmas, everybody.